On the 2026 AP Macroeconomics exam, the scenarios in Micanapy, Foxhound, and Lizland required more than just memorizing definitions. Success on these questions depended on tracing a single policy change through 3 or 4 different economic layers. Take the economy of Micanapy. It begins in a standard inflationary gap, where the current level of production exceeds the economy's full employment potential. To model this, we draw aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply intersecting right of the vertical long-run line. Label output Y1 and full employment YF. Without action, Micanapy self-corrects. Rising wages and resource prices increase production costs, shifting the SRAS curve left, returning to full employment. While this self-correction is the standard expectation, the complexity increases the moment we introduce active policy interventions that trigger secondary effects. If the central bank uses a limited reserves framework to close that gap, they must sell bonds to the public. This action reduces the money supply, shifting the MS curve to the left and driving up nominal interest rates. These higher interest rates make borrowing for capital more expensive for businesses. As a result, private domestic investment spending begins to fall. That drop in investment reduces aggregate demand, which contracts real output. Because firms are now producing less, they require fewer workers, causing the short-run unemployment rate to increase. In this scenario, the policy used to fight inflation through the money market leads to a specific intentional increase in short-run unemployment. In the Foxhound economy, the data shows a labor force of 15 million people, with 900,000 currently unemployed. Subtracting the two gives us 14.1 million employed workers. To find the actual unemployment rate, we divide those 900,000 unemployed by the total labor force. This results in a baseline unemployment rate of 6%. Since 6% is higher than Foxhound's natural rate of unemployment, the economy is in a recessionary gap. On a Phillips curve graph, we represent this as point X, located on the short-run curve to the right of the vertical long-run line. Consider what happens to this math if 100,000 of those employed workers decide to retire. When these workers retire, they leave the labor force entirely. The number of unemployed people remains the same, but the denominator, the labor force, shrinks. This mathematical change causes the overall unemployment rate to rise, even though no one was actually fired. This demonstrates how a change in the labor force size can shift the unemployment percentage independently of changes in hiring. The final scenario in Lizland introduces a different banking environment. The prompt specifies that this economy operates with ample reserves. In an ample reserves regime, the traditional method of buying or selling bonds is ineffective. The central bank cannot shift the money supply by changing the quantity of reserves. Instead, the central bank must lower its administered rates, specifically the interest on reserves. Lowering this rate encourages commercial banks to lend their excess funds, which provides the necessary stimulus for the economy. Correctly identifying the reserve regime is the only way to choose the right policy tool for the situation. If Lizland uses fiscal policy instead, we have to calculate the spending multiplier. With a marginal propensity to consume of 0.8, our multiplier is 1 over 0.2, which equals 5. To close a recessionary gap of 100 billion crowns, the government needs to increase spending by exactly 20 billion. The multiplier effect then expands that spending to fill the entire gap. This domestic expansion also impacts the air national market. As the domestic price level rises, Lizland's goods become more expensive to foreigners. Demand for the Lizland crown shifts left, causing the currency to depreciate on the foreign exchange market. These 3 connections, the link between interest rates and unemployment, the impact of the labor force denominator, and the mechanics of ample reserves, form the core of the exam's most complex questions. Tracing these multi-step relationships is how you move from basic understanding to mastery. Let me know in the comments how you navigated the ample reserves section on your exam, and subscribe for more deep dives into macroeconomics.